every time he picked a different company. And I wasn't going to do this. I was like, oh, this is a really great true client story.
Yeah.
Because I think it was at least the third time I've talked to him, if not the fourth. So every year and a half or 2 years,
We hear from this guy.
we hear from him again. And what's interesting is obvious. Why do you think we might hear from him again every year and a half or 2 years? Because he got screwed every time.
He
And
picked a different company. It didn't work the way he
and it
wanted.
didn't work.
They
Yeah.
didn't do what he wanted.
We're at the top of search rankings, and he finds us again.
Yeah.
And he calls through everybody. And again, he picks someone else.
When he calls you, does he remember that he talked to you
He
before?
definitely did this time.
He
Because
did, okay.
his name is very memorable.
Yeah.
His
Well,
last
when you
name.
told me his name this time, I remembered it from 2 years
I
ago.
told him that. I said his name. I don't want to mention his name.
Yeah.
I just. But I was like, your name's very memorable. I remember because he uses his last name for his company.
Right.
His last name's very memorable. I said, I remember speaking with you. In fact, I remember speaking with you a few years ago. In fact, I think this might be the third time I've spoken with you. Hey guys, it's Nolan and Jason here with HVAC Webmasters.
Howdy.
I've got a true client story today. I don't know what to call it. Almost a client?
Almost a client.
Almost
Once,
SEO.
twice, 3 times a client. No,
How
I'm
about
kidding.
almost great SEO?
Almost great.
Almost great HVAC SEO.
There you go.
There you go. Almost great HVAC SEO. That'll be the title.
Or maybe lesson not learned.
No, I want to have a keyword in there.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm trying to work with
We're
me a
just
little.
admitting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's part of optimizing the thing. I don't know. It doesn't. It could be almost great HVAC marketing.
There you
Could
go.
be that. How about that? Okay. So anyway, I got a call from a guy that had called the first time, I think close to 6 years ago, and he's kind of a hardcore character,
Yeah.
and
You've told me about him at least twice.
he's not mean and rude or anything, but he's kind of aggressive and hardcore. He's
Right.
never been super rude to me. He's never been super nice to me. Okay, I talked to him like 6 years ago, and he never became a client. And I find it interesting because I want to talk about this. I find it really relevant to you guys, especially anybody watching this, to make a decision on whether to utilize us or not.
Right.
So every time he picked a different company. And I wasn't going to do this. I was like, oh, this is a really great true client story.
Yeah.
Because I think it was at least the third time I've talked to him, if not the fourth. So every year and a half or 2 years,
We hear from this guy.
we hear from him again. And what's interesting is obvious. Why do you think we might hear from him again every year and a half or 2 years? Because he got screwed every time.
He
And
picked a different company. It didn't work the way he
and it
wanted.
didn't work.
They
Yeah.
didn't do what he wanted.
We're at the top of search rankings, and he finds us again.
Yeah.
And he calls through everybody. And again, he picks someone else.
When he calls you, does he remember that he talked to you
He
before?
definitely did this time
He
because
did, okay.
his name is very memorable.
Yeah.
His
Well,
last
when you
name.
told me his name this time, I remembered it from 2 years
I
ago.
told him that. I said his name. I don't want to mention his name.
Yeah.
I just. But I was like, your name's very memorable. I remember because he uses his last name for his company.
Right.
His last name's very memorable. I said, I remember speaking with you. In fact, I remember speaking with you a few years ago. In fact, I think this might be the third time I've spoken with you. And I'm going through everything that we do. I said, we do fantastic work. You get to talk to me, one of the owners. I can't guarantee I'll always be here to answer these calls every couple of years from you, but you're talking to me. And we do custom WordPress designs and over 100 points of schema and custom content and blogging, and we work on GMB and citations. We have this new thing called Righteous Reviews that allows you to check in and do pictures and captions and post all this to your website and help get more reviews. And you don't have any of that right now, And I go through it, and it's kind of just floating around in the air, but it's not really sinking in.
Right.
And I get off the phone with him after, telling him everything again. I said, well, let's go through everything again. There's some things have changed and really and we have a lot more stuff than last time I talked to you 2 years ago. And I went over it, and I could tell that it hadn't resonated well. and I felt like I had felt the last times with him.
Yeah.
And I almost said, I'm not going to call this guy back. You know, it's going to be a waste of time to call him back.
Right.
Because he's the same guy that he was before. But I got to thinking about it. I was like, oh, I'm going to call him back. And so I called him back. I'm sorry. I didn't call him back. I marked him off, and I'm like, I'm getting too old for this stuff. You know, I don't call him back. You know, he's going to run me through the meat grinder.
Longest sales routine in history.
Yeah, so he's going to run me through the meat grinder. I was like, I'm not calling back. So he calls me back, and we had a really great conversation. And when I got off the phone, he wasn't ready still. And it said, but he was really sounded like he was interested. And he'd done that once before too. And he said, and I said, I'll just call him Bob. I said, Bob, I just want to say something. You know, this is like the third, fourth time maybe that we've talked, and you seem like you're interested, but but then you're not signing up. And I said, I want to kind of point out what seems obvious to me is that you've left each time and gotten poor quality work and then sought us back out. And I can kind of sense that you're operating the same way again, that you're going to make the same move again,
right.
You know? And I said, I want to throw out there that maybe you should ignore whatever you've been doing that hasn't been working and pick us this time.
How's that been working for you?
Yeah. So,
Give him the Dr. Phil.
I've been trying. I mean, I try to say it as tactfully as I know how to do, which is not good. And I said, look, maybe you should try us. I said,
Maybe you could stop being stupid.
It was more like, I believe that you're responding to sales routines.
Right.
I believe that you're responding to people that are sales routines. He was actually with someone that was creating multiple fake GMB accounts. I forgot to tell you that. So and he had just signed up with them before. He was creating multiple fake GMB accounts, and I can imagine how this sales pitch went. It's going to be great,
You have multiple accounts, multiple locations. Will spread out your map. You have all the shelf space. You have all top 3 spots.
Yeah.
No.
So I go over all that with him. I said, and then I get back with him, and he's like, "Oh, I've just been so busy knowing, we don't know what we're going to do right now. We just don't know what we're going to do." And this is a guy that ran like 1,000, 2,000 HVAC calls a year. Wow. And now all of a sudden he's just like, of course, probably calls every year around this time. It's fall here, basically, right? And
we skipped fall. It's actually just going to winter.
Where he is, it's fall. Okay. With the state that this guy's in, it's fall. And so he probably doesn't have work because of that too.
Yeah.
And the last time I talked to him, and I said, Bob, I'm not going to call you back. I said, I don't want to bug you. I said, look, I'm not real high pressure here. I think you should go with us, but I've already said my piece on everything, I've told you what we do, and I realize but it's kind of tragic watching this. It's like a slow train wreck talking to him,
right,
and watching him go through his non-trusting of everybody, and then presumably being sold a bill of goods, and then running off and doing that.
Yeah, somebody had a sales routine, talked to him 2 or 3 times, figured out the hook that would get him.
Well, agreed. And what he probably wanted from me, which I wasn't willing to give, was, Nolan, I'm going out to a job right now, and we just don't have enough money to do anything right now. That's our problem. Which by the way, bullshit.
If you're going to a job,
that means
you've got
he's done 1,000 or 2,000 jobs a year. He's got the money. He wanted to be sold. So when he said that, I was supposed to get a big routine, a sales routine up and say, man, we can get you busy. Now, I don't think for a second we're not the best there is. I'm just not going to blow smoke and do all these yucca routines and start saying how it's going to be this and that. We're going to blow it up and crush it. And he wanted me to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
You're going to crush it.
Yeah.
You're going to dominate.
And he probably would have, but I'm not going to do that sort of sales routine with him. But I believe that's what he's responding to. How else would it explain him having called me 3 to 4 times over a 6-year period canceling with the other company. And every time I see the website, it's a new horrible website.
Yeah, it's the same lackluster.
It's a template, crap website. Up there, somebody fleeced him out of money for a while. He calls back, and I said, don't you think that maybe you're calling us for a reason?
Maybe in 2021 he'll finally sign up.
Maybe. Maybe I won't talk to him next time he calls. That's my dream. Yeah. Can that be my dream? I'm going to ban him just because. Yeah.
He's gonna call next week. I was gonna sign up with you guys, and then I saw that YouTube thing.
I don't want to be on my deathbed rolling through the Rolodex of hours wasted, and then have his name pop in my head. You know, you could have had 8 more hours of your life back if you hadn't dealt with him. And the last time, Nolan, you idiot, you wasted another 2 hours talking to him. Man hurt me once. Shame on him. This man's hurt me 3 times, man. But I don't mind talking to somebody a second time, but this is like 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah. I mean, I get that they're making, it is an important decision.
It is.
But if it's the first time they're picking a marketing company,
yeah.
I get it. If they need multiple phone calls.
I get it too. No, I don't. That happens all the time.
Yeah. But when it's someone who is on his 4th or 5th phone call with us, it's not our fault that it's spread over 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's this, I was going to relate it to something else and I forgot. It reminded me of a different situation of having people come on board like that. But I don't mind. It doesn't matter. Listen, we don't sign on everybody that calls. That's not the point by any means.
Right.
This guy just called so many times. You think he would have made a difference?
It reminds me of the group of guys that actually came out to our office to meet. We met in this very room.
Yeah.
And we had 1 meeting, then 2 meetings, and those 2 meetings were largely identical.
Yeah.
And then they wanted a 3rd meeting at their location, and it was one of those, we're going to have the same meeting. And we sort of shut it down and said, we have said our bit. We've told you the pricing, we've told you what we do.
They were attempting that was a barter culture individual.
Right.
And they were attempting to lower pricing based upon just grinding down.
Right.
And it didn't have any, and again, that's a good thing to talk about. So it's a situation where someone's not looking at logical scenarios of getting the best marketing company.
Right.
You know, they in their way, they wanted that was just barter culture, grind down is all that was.
You just got to keep going because eventually they'll give you 20% off.
Yeah, and this guy on a different scale had probably spent money, good money each time. And I will. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So I will say this: he may not have spent enough money. Not that we're expensive on stuff, but he could have been picking the cheapest crap over and over again. And it reminds me of that too. There's this other group of people that call up. So he's picked people 3 or 4 times just since I've been talking to him. Every time bad. I don't know if it's not enough money spent or poor quality work or both.
Yeah, or too much money spent on poor quality.
Yeah, and there's another group of people that call up that are mad at SEOs, and it could be him. He could be in the group to where they just never spend. I paid this one company $199 a month. I paid another one $299 a month, and they all suck. And then they just keep going after this cheap service over and over.
Yeah, they hover at the same price point.
This guy is in one of the most populated metropolitan areas in the nation, and in one of the hottest climates, and on the outskirts of it. And his town still has like a couple 100,000 people in it, and then the other town has like 1.5 million or something, and a million people, maybe 1 million, and it's possible that, a lot of people just never pay for services. Right. And in a town this big, people are paying a lot of money and they never, ever pay. But this is too big of a company to do what he's doing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. I thought that one was interesting. The moral of the story is spend some time thinking about who you're going to choose. Don't respond to just a sales routine, which is obviously what he's doing, and spend enough money to get quality services. We have services for less than $1,000 currently, by the way, well less than $1,000 a month, and all kinds of cool stuff comes with it, which I'm not going to go into all that right now. But
I think part of the lesson here is if you call a few people and you make a mistake the first time, a lot of people do. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you call someone like us, and especially over a period of 6 years, and you get a very consistent message, that's when you're talking to a higher up at the company, in this case, the senior partner at the company,
Yeah.
and you're getting this consistent message on every call, and it's not a sales routine, it's a flat laid out, this is what we do, this is how much it costs, this is our goal for you. That's it. And you get that over and over, maybe that's the guy you listen to, because that's
Maybe.
not the guy blowing smoke up your butt, that's the guy
Right.
laying it out.
Most of the people, frankly, appreciate that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
guy, I think, appreciates it well enough, but he's super cynical,
Yeah.
and he could be pinching that penny to his detriment,
Right.
and he's picking a sales routine. I'm almost positive of it. But I do lose people to a sales routine, often. I had a guy just I was just talking to today, and he was the VP of marketing for this company, and he wants me to talk to the owners, and he said, well, go evaluate the market and get back with me. And I said, look, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I am one of two owners here, and it is irrelevant what the market is. It's irrelevant what the market is because you're going to pick the best quality company possible, and we're going to do everything within our power to do everything we know how to do to have you successful so you maintain as a client, because we're month to month.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what other people are doing. And so you come with us for the highest level of expertise at that time that we know. And then you pay us to continually up that level of expertise and do work on the site and change content and blog and citations and GMB and software,
All the stuff we do.
all the other stuff. And so what does it matter? I said, I can't afford, because he was really asking specifically, I said, I can't afford to go do 3 to 4 hours of busy work to come up with a big dog and pony show, PowerPoint or Zoom room presentation for you guys when it's completely unnecessary.
Right.
Because all it is a sales jargon routine. I said, I can talk to you right now and explain all this to you, and then you can look at us and you clearly see we're one of the most dominant factors in this industry, and we make it easy to onboard. And so the reason I bring it up is because the sales methodology is different, and it's direct, it's clear, it's not a lie. I refuse to fluff.
You're not buzzword compliant.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't
Not
want
even a little bit.
fluff this guy up on stuff. I know we're one of the best it's ever been. Not a question. The question is, will the client choose to go with us?
Right.
And this one's interesting because he chose not to 3 times.
3 times.
6
Depressing,
years.
but
He might call back,
that's true.
but I'm not going to
In
call him again.
2021.
I'm gonna put this out there to the universe that we have enough going at that time, and I have enough self-respect to not take.
When you see that pop up on the phone, you're like, nope.
I value my life more. Yeah, maybe. I'll work on that one.
Screw me once, shame you. Screw me 5 more times.
Right. Oh my gosh. I don't know. If I talk to him again, you're going to have to say something. I don't know.
Yeah, if you say it like next
Yeah,
year,
my
you
brain-
say, so I got this guy called me. I'm like, dude, that's the same guy.
Yeah, I know. I remember. I'm embarrassed of myself now. All right. Guys, we'd love to hear from you and be happy to go over everything. Happy to answer any questions, by the way. And if you've already called once, I'll talk to you twice. Just not
Maybe
three
even
times.
3 times.
Just not 3 times. All right, take it easy.
Take it easy.